Today, I want to begin with a sentence most people instinctively reject. Walter White was right. This is not a video meant to excuse a drug lord. It is a video about taking a human being seriously before judging him. Our subject is the series Breaking Bad, and at its center stands Walter White. In this essay, I will argue one uncomfortable idea. Walter's actions may be morally wrong, but the inner logic that pushes him toward those actions is not irrational, and it is not pure evil. Before we move forward, however, we need to clarify what being right actually means in this context. Let's define the ground first. I am not defending his manipulation of people, his involvement in murder, or the way he turns others into tools. What I am defending is something far narrower and far more disturbing. Walter White's reaction to his own life was internally consistent. This matters because we often rely on a comforting belief. Good people don't do terrible things. But stories like this one, just like real life, quietly dismantle that idea. And once we accept that, we can move to the real source of Walter's crisis. On the surface, the story looks simple. Walter wants to leave money for his family. If we look closely, money is not the core of his pain. His real problem is worthlessness. Look at the shape of his life. He is exceptionally gifted in chemistry. He once worked within an important scientific project, and now he is ignored by his students, humiliated in side jobs, and constantly reminded that others surpassed him. The moment that truly breaks Walter is not the cancer diagnosis itself. The diagnosis only exposes a fracture that was already there. And this leads us directly to the question of death. To understand this shift, we need a brief philosophical frame. One of the thinkers who explored the relationship between death and human authenticity most deeply is Martin Heidegger. For Heidegger, truly facing our own death helps us see through the fake and comfortable lives we build for others, the roles we play, the expectations we follow, and the identities we borrow instead of choosing for ourselves. For Walter, cancer functions in exactly this way. It is not merely an excuse. It is a filter. It removes the layers that hid his resentment, his humiliation, and his suppressed ambition. And this is the crucial point. Walter does not become someone else. He stops hiding who he already is. But if this is true, an even more uncomfortable question follows. This is the question almost everyone asks. Why didn't he quit once he had enough money? The answer reveals the deepest misunderstanding about Walter. Because what he wants is not financial safety or a comfortable future for his children. What he wants is something far more fundamental, to feel mastery over something in his life. Business becomes the only space where he is, not disposable, not ignored, not replaceable. He is a standard. He is a name. Here, the contrast with Jesse Pinkman becomes painfully clear.
Jesse, you asked me if I was in the meth business or the money business. Neither. I'm in the empire business.
And this distinction brings us to the heart of the argument. This is where the central claim finally becomes visible. Walter was right, because he accepted a truth most people spend their lives avoiding, that the life he was living was not the life he wanted. Most of us protect ourselves with familiar excuses. The circumstances were impossible. It wasn't the right time. I had responsibilities. Walter does something far more unsettling. He says, I want more. This does not redeem him morally, but it makes him psychologically coherent. And once we accept that, we must confront another heavy idea. One of the heaviest burdens a person can carry is unrealized potential. Walter's tragedy is not poverty. His tragedy is knowing who he could have been. Both his intelligence and his past achievements constantly remind him of a life he never fully lived. Every failure, every compromise, and every quiet humiliation deepens the gap between the man he is and the man he believes he should have become. This is why death does not slow him down. It accelerates him. Faced with the end of his life, Walter does not search for peace or closure. He searches for validation. He searches for control. He searches for a version of himself that finally feels powerful. Walter's path is darker, without question, but the emotional engine driving him is deeply human. And this leads directly to the moment when Walter becomes most honest. Later in the story, Walter's most powerful moment is not an explosion of violence. It is a sentence. He stops pretending that everything was for his family.
I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it. I was alive.
This confession does not make him a better person, but it does make him a more honest one. For the first time in his life, he abandons the role assigned to him by others. He claims ownership over his desire. And yet, that honesty leaves us deeply uneasy. Which brings us to the final emotional tension of the story. Why does Walter still disturb us? Because Walter holds up a dangerous mirror. He silently asks one simple question. If one day you realize you never became the person you could have been, what would you choose? We feel safer when we hate Walter, because hating him makes it easier to push him away from ourselves. But the real discomfort of this story is not what he does. The real discomfort is this. The desire behind his actions, the need to matter, the need to be seen, the need to feel powerful, exists, at least in small pieces, inside many of us. And that realization leads us to the final conclusion. So, why was Walter White right? Because when he realized his life wasn't really his anymore, he refused to keep living on autopilot. He stopped pretending. He stopped hiding what he truly wanted. And for the first time, he simply admitted it. But here's the painful truth. Being right doesn't mean being happy. In his own world, he wins. As a human being, he loses. And Walter White's real tragedy isn't that he was evil. It's that he finally learned who he was, in the wrong place and in the worst possible way.